Welcome to A Better You podcast. Let's start today to develop a better you. This podcast takes on life's challenges and obstacles, such as overcoming addictions, behaviors, midlife career changes, to keeping your family together. The show that gives you take-home assignments to overcome obstacles of the week. Receive godly wisdom for a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life with Anthony McFarland. Let's get started with crafting a better you.
One of our missions is to enable individuals and families to manage their personal finances efficiently. It helps in making appropriate financial decisions about investing, saving, insurance, managing debt, buying a house, protecting your assets, a child's education, retirement planning. It helps individuals to achieve financial stability and financial freedom. My first nugget that I want to share with you in this podcast is this, because there's so much content that opposes money, that opposes investments, that opposes insurance. Listen, there is no bad insurance, no bad investments. What do you mean by that? All insurance and investments have its pros and cons. It's about making sure that you have the right policy, the right investment that works best for you both now and later. And remember this, what worked 10 years ago or 15 years ago may not be working today. So we have to stay informed. We must be educated so that we can best plan our financial future. So let's talk about how money works. Whether we pull out paper bills or swipe a credit card, most of the transactions we engage in daily use is currency. The truth is, money is the lifeblood of economies around the world. Currency refers to paper money or coins that are in circulation. But currency is actually only a small piece of the monetary economy, and just one of the considerations when looking at the total money supply. Most money today exists as credit money or as electronic records stored in a database in banks or financial institutions. And now today, it's happening with blockchain, digital currency. But still, the bread and butter of everyday transactions is currency. And that is what we will look more closely at here in this episode. So here's a few key takeaways that I believe will inform you. Number one, currency is the physical money in an economy, comprising of both paper as well as coin notes in circulation, whether that be silver, copper, etc. Two, currency makes up just a small amount of overall money supply, much of which exists as, again, credit money or electronic entries in financial ledgers. The third takeaway for you up front is, while early currency derived its value from the content of precious metals inside of it, today's fiat money is backed entirely, hear me, entirely by social agreement and faith in the issuer, okay? For traders, here's another nugget for you. For traders, currencies are the units of accounts of various nation states, okay, whose exchange rates fluctuate between one another, whether that's Japan, whether that's Europe, whether that's United States. Now, what is currency? Let's jump into this. While it may seem obvious, since we all use it almost on a daily basis, the exact meaning of money can also be elusive and nuanced in some respect, especially with digital currency coming into play. And people some people are extremely excited about it, and some people are still kind of fearful of what it is and how you use digital currency. But imagine you make shoes for a living and need to buy bread to feed your family. You approach the baker and offer a pair of shoes for a specific number of loaves, right? Well, we call that the exchange, the bartering. But as it turns out, he doesn't need shoes at the moment. The baker doesn't need any shoes at the moment. So you're out of luck unless you can find another baker, right? One who happens to be short on footwear nearby, who needs a pair of shoes so that you can trade for that bread. So according to mainstream economics, money alleviates this problem. It provides a universal store of value that can be readily used by other members of society. So that same baker might need a table instead of shoes. So in general, transactions can happen at a much quicker pace because sellers have an easier time finding a buyer with whom they want to do business. Now, most importantly, money has to be the unit of account. Or let me say it like this: the numerary, which is a fancy term for the unit that things are priced in within a society, within a nation, within a country. In the US, that is the dollar. And so once there is a unit of account, people can indeed exchange on credit without use of physical money. And so we all have what? Credit cards, debit cards, right? Currency is the physical paper, notes, and coins in circulation. I want to say that again. Currency is the physical paper, notes, and coins in currency. By accepting the currency, a merchant can sell his or her goods and have a convenient way to pay their trading partners, so to speak. So there are other important benefits of currency. The relative small size of coins and dollar bills makes them easy to transport. So consider a corn grower who would have to load a cart with food every time he needed to buy something. Additionally, coins and paper have the advantage of lasting a long time, which is something that can't be said for all commodities. Now, a farmer who relies on direct trade, what we call direct trade, for example, may only have a few weeks before his assets spoil, right? The eggs, the milk, the corn, whatever it is. So with money, she or he can accumulate and store their wealth. So it's not all locked up in a product, so to speak. Now, we need to understand the value in currency. So what exactly gives our modern forms of currency, whether it's an American dollar or a Japanese yen, value? I'm glad you asked that question. Unlike early coins made of precious metals, most of what's minted today doesn't have much intrinsic value. I hope that doesn't shock you. However, it retains its worth for one of two reasons. First, in the case of representative money, that most people call it, each coin or note, dollar bill, can be exchanged for a fixed amount of commodity. So the dollar fell into this category in the years following World War II, right? When central banks around the world could pay the US government $35 for an ounce of gold. Can you imagine that? Now gold is over, ounce of gold, 3,500 or maybe almost 4,000. In other words, The paper money represents some claim on physical metal and could legally be redeemed for that metal on demand, right? So most money over the past several centuries have been backed by gold, precious metals. However, when we look back in history, worries about a potential run on Americans' gold supply led President Nixon to cancel this agreement with countries around the world. So that whole $35 for gold, that was kind of out the door. So by leaving the gold standard, the dollar became what's referred to as fiat money. In other words, it holds value simply because, hear this, simply because people have faith that other parties will accept it. Hear me, other countries will accept it. Today, most of the major currencies around the world include the euro, British pound, and Japanese yen. And they all fall into this category. Fiat money, moreover, derives its value from the trust in, hear this, the government and its ability to levy and collect taxes. Do you see how there's been a switch from the gold to now trusting in a system that says something is worth something? Got to get this. So let me share this with you before I wrap this up. The value of $1 from 2020 to 2022. $1 in 2020 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $1.09 today. And so that's an increase of 0.09 cents over 2 years. I want you to listen to this carefully. So the dollar had an average inflation rate of 4.23% per year between 2020 and today, the past 2 years, producing a cumulative price increase, hear this, of 8.63%. Now, what does that mean? This means that today's prices are 1.09 times higher than average prices since 2020. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, $1 today only buys 91.74% of what it could buy back then. Do you see that drop there? Now, when you understand that your dollar today only buys 91.74% of what it could buy back in 2019. 2019. Man, what happened there? It's this thing called inflation. The inflation rate in 2020 was 1.23%. Now, the current year-over-year inflation rate, hear this, from 2021 to 2022 is now 7.48%. What did you just say? Yes, 7.48%. So if this number holds, $1 today will be equivalent in buying power to $1.07 next year. So the current inflation rate page gives more details on, and you can go look at it on the last inflation rates. And maybe I'll talk about or talk to you about the power of compound interest and how it can work for you and how it works against you. But when you start to understand how money works, understand the power of $1, and you start factoring in taxes, you start factoring in interest rates, you start factoring in inflation, we're at a deficit today. And so it's important that You learn basic financial principles, how money works. You understand interest rates. You understand what borrowing, how borrowing can affect you. Borrowing money can affect you. Loading up your credit cards. Think about it. The average credit card today starts at 18% and is as high as 28%. So imagine if our inflation rate is 7.48%, might as well say 7.5. And you look at what the dollar is worth, and you look at taxes and how taxes are increasing, and you start to look at all these numbers. Man, if you're not managing your money properly, if you're not putting it in the proper investments and investment vehicles, then 9 times out of 10 over the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to lose. And most people who have their money in different investment vehicles right now today, even retirement investment vehicles, because of the economy, because of the war that just broke out this week, your money's already been hit. Your money your money's investments have already taken a plunge. So it's important that we understand all the inner workings of money and investments, and the importance of insurance and protecting your money and that sort of thing. So I hope you've been blessed by this episode today. Drop me a note. Let me know your thoughts if you have any questions, and I'll look forward to answering them in the next podcast when I see you again. Again, thank you for joining me today. Until the next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into A Better You program with Anthony McFarland.